Hello, and thank you for joining me with another video. I am your host, Marcus Cage, and this is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage. I released a prediction video on Super Tuesday, and all hell broke loose. So let's talk about some of the things. Let's talk about how I got it so massively wrong. There's plenty of reasons why, and we'll go into it and talk about it. Hope you enjoy, and thank you for being here with me. Okay, on Super Tuesday, my Super Tuesday, I guess mess. Even on my worst, the worst way I predicted the race going, I didn't even see it going to as bad as it did. Granted, I can't make any excuses about making such a terrible prediction. I did see the dropouts and things, but granted, it was the day before I made the video, and I was at the Bernie rally having a good time. So hearing Pete drop out and Amy drop out didn't put a lot of thought behind it at the time. I did later on the next day and start to think a little bit more about it, but I just, because before, every time a candidate has either dropped out or started to lose support, that support has normally been proportioned. It's normally been, okay, well, even if one gets majority, I mean, say for instance, we'll say Pete just dropped out in the normal scenario. How it's been going is, for instance, let's say Biden takes 80% of that. Bernie's still at least taking 20. Well, what we're seeing in these instances with former Mayor Pete and Amy Klobuchar is that their base, that voting block, is literally 100% just going straight over to Joe Biden. That is why I didn't expect for it to be that massive, where literally if they had 7%, that whole entire 7% went over. Whereas in the past, normally they would have gotten out, and that 7% probably would have split it to about 4.5% going to them, and that rest of that percentage going somewhere else, which normally kind of re-evens out everything, and it makes it not as big of a deal when candidates who are polling kind of lower actually drop out. But this time in particular, I mean, some people could say it's conspiracy theories. I mean, I hear little reports. One report that I heard was that either it was after he dropped out or before he dropped out, Pete Buttigieg received a phone call from President Obama. Now, I've heard different speculations on different things, and what I'm about to say here is sole speculation because I don't have anything to actually back it up or confirm this. This is just my theory on other stories in the past that I've heard that seem like it would track with this logic. What I heard is that Obama actually put out the word that, months back, he told the DNC chair, Tom Pettis, that do not let Bernie Sanders take this party. Do not. That's basically your job. Keep this man back. Hold back the monsters. Well, he's tried. He's done a lot of things, and to many who just watch more establishment media, and they're not going to push back as much, or they're going to pick certain candidates to decide which candidate that they're going to hit, which candidate they're going to admit, and which candidate they're going to promote. So as you start to notice these trends more and more, I mean, you'll start to notice things. For instance, anybody who remembers 2008, when Obama won Iowa and then turned around and won, it wasn't South Carolina, was it? Could be getting wrong. I think, yeah, it was South Carolina that he won. That instantly, they were like, oh, he's won 2 out of 4. Crown him, crown him, crown him. Bernie basically won 3 out of 4. And then instead, the reaction wasn't, oh, well, we have a candidate who looked like he can win. It was, we have a candidate we need to stop. So that momentum swing out of South Carolina, it definitely helped. And then you have all of the endorsements. I mean, yes, you had Pete drop out and Amy drop out and then endorse, but you also had Beto who endorsed. You also had was it Susan Rice from Obama administration coming out for him, and it just started becoming just a rainbow. I mean, it was just raining out endorsements. Normally, how something like that would happen, or endorsements they're normally not that fast. I have a little bit of knowledge inside of campaigns and know how some of that negotiating normally works out, and it's normally not in I'm dropping out today and then tomorrow I'm just going to switch everything to you. So for me, it was odd, just how fast so many people coalesced around one person, as if they were almost being instructed to, almost like a general saying, okay, everybody fall in line. I picked him. Now you guys follow. Like I said before, this is right here. This is just off the top of my head. This is my theories. It's all conjecture. So please don't hold me to it. With that, one thing that I think, a lot of people got really, really over the top and, took it really, really harshly. I look at it like this. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and any of you out there who are Kansas City Chiefs fans, you understand what that means. It means patience. It means just because we have a bad first quarter, we don't turn off the TV and go storming out. You sit down, you wait it out. You just never know. And that's how we have to treat this situation. I mean, another thing we have to remember is Joe Biden was trying to come back. A lot of the TV narrative a lot of the cable news TV narrative is going to be the front runner is back. Now, whether it's because they show favoritism to Bernie, to Biden, which they actually do, it's more of the fact of even if Biden steps out ahead, they don't want to end it too soon because they have money that they can make off of pushing the intrigue and the infighting. So I look for, them to kind of try to do a little bit of pushing here, then pushing there, and then try to find where they can find more friction to look for more fights and contact. The thing which I feel the establishment is making a mistake. And then I forgot Bloomberg drop out also. If they are forcing these candidates to drop out earlier than they need to, if Joe Biden has an issue, then let me stop that. Let's not say if he has an issue. When Joe Biden has an issue, I've literally seen just after Super Tuesday and a couple of his acceptance that he's mistaken his sister for his wife, and he forgot, I think it was the Bill of Rights, where he forgot the Bill of Rights. And we're going to see just more and more and more of this. Another thing you have to keep in mind is cable news. Most of those people live on the coast. You might have some where they might be based out of maybe Chicago, but majority of those morning shows, it's New York, it's LA. The one thing about New York and LA is, they have all kind of different things. They have all kind of businesses. But what I try to explain to people who maybe didn't live or grow up in the Midwest or understand the heartland or the Rust Belt, What you have to understand is these are areas which are predominantly or have been predominantly dependent on manufacturing and unions in a way that is nothing like any other parts of the country. So California, yes, they have their buildings and corporations manufacturing, but it's not the same thing because you can get out of that and you got Tech Valley and you got this and you got that. When you go to states and you don't have backup resources or backup careers and things like that, where it's a diversified economy or workforce, when a major part of that workforce goes away, a major chunk of that population feels the impact. And a lot of those people who are pushing Joe Biden up there are not realizing that this man he actually has a lot to do with the destruction and damage throughout the entire Midwest through a lot of the trade policies which he pushed, which, just wait, the next debate stage, when it's not as many candidates on stage and Joe Biden has to talk a whole lot more, and I believe it's going to be in Michigan on top of that. I think even if Bernie doesn't do what I want him to do, which is actually take off the glove, ball up his fist, and punch Joe in the mouth, verbally, of course. I mean, not physical. I'm not advocating for him to physically, these two old men, to beat each other up. But I'm saying verbally, it's at a point where Bernie needs to just shiv him. Bernie needs to put the knife in the back, twist, and be done with it. I get it. He's your friend. You guys can have hot tea and Mai Tais and go golfing later on. But if this rally cry that we have, not me, us, then at some time Bernie Sanders himself has to start taking that advice and realize it's not about him and maybe his relationship with Joe Biden or a relationship with Elizabeth Warren or any of these other people. It's about you're trying to fill a role for us. You're trying to be our avatar and work to help us improve the quality of our lives. Now, for me, it's not complicated. Like I was telling somebody the other day, if I have that level of responsibility and they say, you know what, hey, your cousin here is they're wanted for armed robbery. Well, if it takes for me to do that with somebody who's doing wrong, to actually say, you know what, I'll open my mouth and tell the truth. I see what they're doing. To help a bunch of people on the other side of it, at some point, you have to start looking yourself in the mirror if you struggle with those kinds of decisions. Let's see, what else was I going to say? Because I think I've said enough. Super Tuesday was kind of ugly. Thank goodness California out here was so strong. I know we'll still be counting the results for at least another week, 2 weeks. And the provisional ballots, I guess it would be, plus or minus roughly 30 days. And that will give a lot of information. But in the meantime, the media is definitely going to take the time to seize this narrative and push the candidate which they're in favor of, or which they actually, are biased towards. One other thing I forgot. In the mockery of in the little fun they were having mocking Bloomberg for all the money that he spent and that he only won America's Samoa. Interesting thing there. Well, when they came up with this new rule change, they said all you have to do is get a pledged delegate. Only one. That gets you on the stage. And that was used to kind of manipulate things a little bit to get Bloomberg on the stage. Well, Bloomberg's out of the race, but Tulsi Gabbard got one vote. So according to those standards, that should mean that Tulsi Gabbard should qualify for this debate. I don't know what kind of mess or nonsense that they will try to come up with to try to spin out of this one. I mean, maybe they'll just break their rules again, which they said are unbreakable rules. But if she is able to get on that stage, I look at her as solely an ally. I look at, if there's something that she wanted to hit Bernie on policy wise to try to separate herself to get ahead, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, as long as the attacks are, as long as the attacks are fair, I don't really have a problem with that. It's when they start doing these weird, like, personal attacks or like guilt by association stuff, like what Warren's been doing. For instance, she gets out there. I mean, she says that, Bernie basically said that he didn't believe a woman could win. Well, obviously, by your reaction, you obviously believe he can't win either, because you were doing everything in your power to keep him from being the nominee. I'm wondering just why that doesn't get more scrutiny and coverage. I know that a lot of people would say, you shouldn't try to push people out of the race. And I normally wouldn't try to push anybody out of the race, because some could say, well, you're not trying to push for Tulsi Gabbard to get out. Well, Tulsi Gabbard's a different story. Elizabeth Warren is a careerist who's just trying to get ahead. Tulsi Gabbard, though, I disagree with her on some things. For instance, if people think that I'm just trying to hit her on something silly or stupid, Pro-Mesa Act did massive austerity cuts to the island of Puerto Rico and made the debt far, far worse. But, that's what I'm saying. If she got to that level, of course, she would receive more scrutiny, and hopefully it would be fair scrutiny, besides this every time she gets on acting as if she's some kind of asset to another country. I mean, it's insulting to me to watch an active duty soldier have to be smeared by some lazy, basically wealthy housewife who decided, I guess I just want some power now and I'll just run for Senate, and because my name's big enough, they'll just throw me in there. And then I'll just have a whole legion of women who will identify with me, believing that they're in the same shoes, not realizing that I don't have no glass ceiling. The glass ceiling's in my own head. But you women out there who are, Hillary speaks for me, you have a glass ceiling. And she's playing you and pandering. But I mean, if you love panda bears, then go on ahead. Joe Biden's been doing it like crazy, going down to black churches and doing all that. Bloomberg did the same thing, wanting to talk about civil rights. Me, if you're not talking about the issues all the time, and I don't see a track record of you putting the work behind it, then I don't really care what you have to say. I mean, because as an elected official, you should be showing me more than telling me. We will have, a debate coming up. I think it'll be next Tuesday. No, not Tuesday. Tuesday votes will start rolling in. But I will try to, I guess, once I figure out more info as far as the debate, then I guess I'll try to get on here, give the info on when it is, time, date, location, all that stuff, and who will be on the stage, of course, and what do I think? What do I think you guys should look for and expect? Well, before it's already started, we talked about the whole trade thing. Trade is going to be massively huge issue. If Bernie wants to play his cards right, Bernie could really, really hit him on Social Security. So it should be trade bill, crime bill, and I'm forgetting, but you guys heard what I just said. Whatever the other one was. But I just think that the more Biden has, especially as he's the front runner, there's going to be more cameras in his face, more and more and more. And we're going to get, I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more President, my boss, and maybe he called Bernie president again, or he'll see Duval Patrick and call him Cory Booker, who knows? But expect for Joe Biden to have another mental flub, or that's what I'm calling it, a mental flub, instead of calling it what it is, which, though I am not a doctor, I can very easily see when somebody has neurological issues that are going on, motor function issues. Now, you guys could pretend you don't notice it. That's fine. If you feel like voting for somebody who might get 25th Amendment before he even gets in the office by his vice president, go for it. And if you think that a man who is barely holding it together can actually be an incumbent president, I mean, you realize, like, there's only basically been 2 incumbent presidents in recent memory who've been knocked out of office. You had Carter, and you had Bush Sr. The only other one who only went out and, very early, that would have been Kennedy. But without going to that dark level, thinking about that kind of stuff, what I'm saying is the incumbency, regardless if you're a popular president or not, is very, very strong. Name ID is very, very strong. I mean, Trump has 65 million Twitter followers. Think about it. So as I hear some more information about the next polls and who's going to be in, and if Warren actually sticks in, I have heard information that she's deliberating on what she should do with her future. Obviously, I feel she should drop out and back Bernie, but we will see. A lot of people would have definitely said, of course she's going to back Bernie. But the fact that Bernie doesn't attack her and she nonstop just nutshots him every 5 minutes, I mean, I don't know if that relationship is salvageable. I mean, he doesn't trash her in public, so maybe it is salvageable. But I'm telling you, you can come at me on policy, but if you're going to keep coming at me at character assassination, and you're going to take my millions of voters, which Bernie has more grassroots support than all the other Democratic candidates combined, even when they were back in the race. So to think he's going to be able to wave a magic wand to make a whole bunch of people behave is just, I don't get that. All right, I guess I'll leave it there. Getting kind of late. And I guess as I get more information, I'll let you know. Those who are not familiar with my second show that I've been working on, it's a co-hosting show with the wonderful Niall Elcom. It is a longer formatted conversation. So for those of you guys who want to hear a little bit more information on some deeper topics, please follow us over there on Niall's channel. And then eventually on the road, we'll work on getting something where it will simultaneously cast on both our channels. That said, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.